Hi and welcome. My name is Laura and I'm the founder of the Yes I Am blog. Tonight I'm here with Phoenix, the mentalist, and we're going to have a chat about self-esteem. So thank you for being part of the blog.
My pleasure, good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, about what a mentalist does, perhaps?
Yes, please.
Mentalist is like an umbrella term. It's involved in the psychology industry, but it's more for the entertainment purposes. So if you had the umbrella being mentalist term, under that you would have hypnosis, body language reading, influence, behavioural psychology in forms for entertainment on stage, and also showmanship and performance arts.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, what does self-esteem mean for you?
Self-esteem, if I were to break it down to, I guess, what it means or how it is when when I experience it, it's almost as though when self-esteem is good, colours are brighter, days are warmer, everything seems a bit more right with the world and with me. It's like a nice balance for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how would you rate your self-esteem from 1 to 10, as the 1 the lowest level of self-esteem and 10 as the highest?
I'd say that depends heavily on what kind of environment I'm in, whether I'm performing, whether I'm at home, and it varies. I'd say on a day-to-day basis, probably around about a 7 to 8, maybe, I suppose. There's always room for some improvement, but you don't want to go too overboard. It's not that you can control it, but I like to maintain that level, maybe even an 8 sometimes. And it also depends whether I'm doing or keeping regular with my self-maintenance to how that rates. But I'd say probably an average about 7 to 8.
That's a good score.
Thank you. I thought so. I feel better now.
Okay, and if you would have to place self-esteem in a part of your body, where would you place it?
Yeah, great. Well, I hope you don't mind me breaking it down to where I'm at different times, because like I say, it varies. If I'm on stage or doing what I do, it's a dead focus, and it varies where that is. So if it's in a day-to-day thing, my self-esteem might even be between shoulders and arms, because that's, I don't know why that is, but it's just like a self-strength kind of thing. But if it's on stage, it could be eyes and smile, engaging with a crowd, taking control of that, and therefore almost having an authoritarian point of view, but still being able to control. I mean, controlling a crowd in a way takes a fair bit of self-esteem, and that's where it comes to. But if I would take it away from a physical side, for me, self-esteem comes from the mind. So if I feel confident about what I'm doing, I've rehearsed it enough, or I've been creative enough in what I'm doing for particular routines, then it's in my mind.
Right, okay. Can you tell us one thing that you are good at and that you are confident about?
For me, it's reading human behaviour, reading body language, and it feels almost like I have a bit of an edge that many people might not, and that boosts a little bit of confidence in me, just knowing. It sounds like being psychic, knowing what people are thinking. It's not psychic in that way. It's just having that edge of being able to read people and just having a better understanding, so it places you in a better position on a human chessboard, if you will.
Mm-hmm. What do you do for yourself to increase your self-esteem level?
What activities would I engage in to build my self-esteem?
It could be an activity, yes.
Yeah, okay. Good point. Whether that's meditating or something along those lines. For me, it's things like going to the gym, because it makes me feel at if my physical peak feels good, and I'm also training my mind, then I feel like I'm on the right path, like I'm constantly improving. I feel like if I'm constantly doing something or expanding my mind in some way, then I'm feeling better. But that can also be, sometimes before a show it might be meditation. I'm not going to lie, some shows even a little shot of certain alcohol might even boost. So that's probably more about a relaxing thing, but it's just going over what I've got to do before a show that gives me that confidence and that tunnel vision. But in day-to-day, like I say, going to the gym, a little bit of meditation, expanding my mind in something that I didn't know before, and eating right.
Very good. Who or what contributed positively to increase your self-esteem level in your life,
Right.
and how?
My parents were very responsible for that. From a young age, they were incredibly supportive. They didn't convince me so that I was blind that you can do anything, so you go and run and jump off a building expecting to fly. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but they did encourage me to, go out and learn what I can and know that whatever I put my mind to, I can do, which has come in handy because there's been plenty of times. Well, I mean, to cut it short, a lot of what I do is considered impossible, or at some stage has been considered impossible. These days are a bit more open to it, but that knowledge, and I say knowledge, not belief, because it is a knowledge that you can do something, is what gets you through it. To me, you see people, and I might be going off track a bit here, but you see Olympians, and every Olympics, it's like they just shave a few milliseconds off of a race to break these new world records. If you look at this Olympics to that Olympics 16 years ago, the distance is quite vast, but it's just that they push, but they get just that point and they try and beat that point. And that's because it's been proven that it can be done before, and that's why they can do it. It's a knowledge that that level or that speed or that height can be achieved, and so if they just push it a little bit further, then that becomes a knowledge of the truth that these records can be broken.
Yeah, so it's like a validation.
Yeah, and it's a constant point to beat as well. You're your own target, if you're in the Olympics or something like that's different, you've got world records to beat. But for me, I'm constantly trying to outdo the last thing that I did, which after a while gets pretty difficult. But yeah, it's just you're constantly competing with yourself, and then knowing that you can and probably will in most cases do that is a big confidence builder.
Yeah, very good. I'm going to ask a little bit of a challenging question now. So, who and what compromised, if it did happen in your life, your self-esteem level?
Yeah. Well, I know my triggers, and it's never a who that compromises that, it's a what. And it's certain circumstances that happen at the same time. One, if I don't have a wonderful month financially, let's say I'm not booking a lot of shows, well, that doesn't feel good either, because you start to think, well, why aren't I getting shows? Was there a bad review or something along those lines? And never has there been a bad review. It's that little voice in the back of your head that you've got to learn to control. But what ties in with that is like a financial side. Like I've been pretty motivated and driven to make sure my finances are good, that I'm on track, that I'm same sort of thing. I'm constantly trying to beat my own targets even in that area. But if there's no shows for a bit, and even though I guess by certain standards it might still be good, for me it's a drop, and that makes me feel not good. Now if that happens at the same time that I haven't been training or eating healthy for 1 to 2 weeks, then that causes, I guess, almost like a mini downward spiral, and it starts to make me really reduce that confidence a bit. But for me, it's just get straight back in there and keep going with it.
Sounds like it's something that gets in the way of your routine, then it may have an impact on your self-esteem.
Yeah, and look, there's a saying, I mean, the exact saying eludes me, but it's to the point of, one of the greatest burdens that a child can carry is the achievements that their parents never achieved. And my parents certainly did achieve a lot, but as you're growing up, if you went through a rough time, whether it might have been financially or whether it might have been emotionally, and my parents were, as I say, brilliant, but little things like that can weigh down and then become bigger things with the children later on in life, and that's a very common thing. So for those things, if I don't keep on top of them, then that's the voice that will be in the back of my head. So the challenge is, everyone's own worst enemy is themselves. So I'm kind of trying to beat my own little voice, mute it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this.
No, my pleasure.
Okay, so what is the best advice that you received from someone in order to increase your self-esteem and your confidence?
This depends a little bit, well, not depends, but it stems back to my knowledge on body language and areas like that. And one of the very first things that I learned was that your mindset will control your body, and that's where body language comes from. It's a very primitive thing. It comes from a long way back. It's ingrained into us. One of the best things that you can do if you're feeling a little bit not on top of the world is by changing your actual body language as such. Like if you're watching this right now, chances are you're looking at the screen, so it might vary slightly, but if you're not feeling particularly good, and notice this next time that you don't feel good, take notice of how your body is. Chances are you're a little bit slouched, your shoulders might be forwards, and you're probably looking down at the floor. Now that's a very common thing. So one thing that can really fix that, and this is one of the earlier things that I was taught, was to simply just roll your shoulders back, take a few deep breaths, tilt your head up, and pretty much look up to the sky, because that's where all marvels and that's where all potential and possibility is. If you think about where our minds go when we think about, wow, where our race will, as humans will go, it tends to be to the sky, whether it's aviation, the stars, the wonders of the universe. Everything that is possible and potential is up. But also, just by moving your body up like that, you start to feel, and you're going to notice that your actual demeanor changes, and you start to feel a little bit better. So if you go from there, and then if what I would add on to that is by looking after yourself, eat right for a little bit if you're not already. Go to the gym, release those endorphins, which is another thing that I learned later on during the physical training of my past, both here and in China, and just start to take note of those little things and notice the difference. And a big thing that I think we might have been talking about this the other evening when we chatted about this interview was to stop sometimes and acknowledge the achievements that you had done, because I noticed after a while that I do some cool things on television or some great stunts in shows, and it'd be this big build up to do it because it seemed impossible, and then I'd do it and it would feel great, and then I'd be straight moving on to the next one. I didn't really give myself enough time to acknowledge that, okay, well done, you achieved that. So just having little reminders around in places where you work, like I mentioned to you that I had a couple of show posters. I went to throw them out because I wasn't doing that show anymore, and I was like, well, they were at a Fringe festival where the show won both shows won awards, and they were right after the other. Maybe just leave that as a reminder of you're actually doing what you love doing, and you're doing what you set out to do. And those little reminders will help you work, they'll help you focus, they'll make you feel better about life in general, I find anyway.
Yeah, and it is important to allow our experiences to settle and to think about what we did experience and what we gain out of those experiences.
Yeah, what do they say? Every so often stop and smell the roses, I think it is. Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps.
Well, thank you for sharing
My
your
pleasure.
thoughts.
My pleasure. Speaking of thoughts, would you share one with me before we go? Is that okay?
It's okay. Yeah.
Now I warned Laura that I might do something on camera because she's so lovely. She's a good friend of mine, and it is a pleasure for me to be on here. And for those of you that don't know what a mentalist is, perhaps you're thinking I'm a crazy person. Well, you could be right, but it involves reading people, as I said. So Laura, I want you to think of a memory from your past, a good memory, and that memory could be anywhere in the world, in a major city somewhere in the world, and think of a specific memory that you have with someone in particular, a good memory.
Yes.
You got it? Good. Think about, just take a moment, take a few seconds, think about the sights, the smells, the sounds, anything around you. Good. Take a few deep breaths as you do that. Good. Now we do have light here, so it is going to change because the pupils change dilation at different levels of light, but there was a slight flare. This person was a close person to you, potentially is a close person to you. I did say someone close to you, so that's not any record-breaking revelation right there. But I'd say this is either someone who's still close to you or possibly, and may I have your hand for a moment? Just want to... Okay, put that down for a second. Think about where you were, the scene.
Yeah.
The very first image that jumped into your mind, was that a daylight? It was a daylight image, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was a daylight image, and what I noticed when I did that, you've got very, very fine hair follicles, but if I get someone to think about the environment where they're in, well, the body reacts. It's like if we think about an embarrassing moment, we tend to blush still, because the body will react still to memories. Now, you didn't have a single movement on that of any hair follicle on that arm, even though it's quite cold tonight, which tells me that the environment you're in is not one that would make your hair stand up, so it's probably a warm environment.
Yes.
Good. And the person you are thinking of while you are there is male.
Yes.
Good. Think about the connection that you have with that person. Okay. And was it quite hot? It was quite hot?
Yes.
Borrow your hand one more time, sorry. There's a camera here, so I've got to be adamant that I don't mess this up. Okay, it's not in the United States, I know that. And that was much easier to move up, so it's in the northern hemisphere somewhere. There's a slight hesitation in that nod, which means you had to think about it, which means it's nowhere like Upper Europe, like Paris or anywhere like that, I know that.
Yeah.
But it's not anywhere as south as Australia or New Zealand. You are, did you do a bit of sightseeing while you were there?
Yes.
Think about, say the name of the place in your mind, only in your mind 3 times. Ready? Just in your mind, go. That's it. You just finished it then, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Fairly short word, probably about 2 syllables. I'm going to hazard a guess. In fact, tell me, did your dad enjoy Cairo as well? You were in Cairo with your dad, weren't you, in Egypt? You were? Brilliant. Okay, well there you go. That's
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Thank you for interviewing me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. Oh, you just shocked me.
Happens.
How did you do that?
Very well, rather quickly. Thanks for having me.
Oh my god.